Hello everybody, Norfolk Boy here again with another video, and today I'm mostly going to be looking at Apricot, which I did show at a glance once before in one of my videos, but I was actually pretty much showing a video on Regency, which is another synth of theirs that's for free. Also Fluctus, but I called it stupidly Fluxious, I do believe, in my video. So this video was really for beginners because I think that Apricot has got this fantastic neat little layout that might help beginners understand a little bit about software synths and who would like to get into sound design. Okay, so I'm going to do my very best here to explain Apricot and how it works. So straight from the top left we've got a drop down list. If we left click here, and we're just going to pick initial patch or initialize patch. That will give us the patch sound just coming from the first oscillator. So straight away you can hear there's some effects coming through, some effects. For some reason by default they seem to have it on, so you can either use bypass FX or you can actually go into effects and find out what's on, and you can see here that there's a ping pong delay on. So if we just take that off, don't know why it's default, but it is. So let's go back to the main and then we can get started. So this synth has got 3 oscillators. This one's the main one, of course. Not all software synths have got 3 oscillators. Some have only got 1, but this one's got 3, so that's great. And the first thing we look at is obviously the volume. And so if we turn that up and down, as you can see, it's got its own volume control. Then we've got pan, which gives us stereo either side, left and right. Phase changes the value of a note, but as you can see it just shows you that it's doing something in the preview window there. Then we have semitones, and if we go up 12 semitones that gives us an octave, and obviously if we go down that also gives us an octave below. Next one's fine tune, so it's just self-explanatory, it just finely tunes, so it's almost like detune in a way. Then we have an invert button, and if we press that, which also changes the sound, we also have next to that a retrigger, which is more of a every time you hit the button it just re-triggers the same. As you can see, the pattern staying the same in the preview. Obviously just mess about with these things to give you the desired sound that you're looking for. You don't always get all of these things all in an oscillator. You might get lots more on other synths, but we're just going through this one. Okay, so that's the stereo width. Before that was the detune, which just detunes, but that will make more sense when you up these voices to say about 5. Here is where you can set how many voices you're available. If we set this to 5, and now you can see when we move the detune, it makes much more difference. So it's doing what it says on the tin, it detunes. Okay, so now we're going to the waveforms here in the middle. Now the first one is a squiggly line, and it's a sine wave, which is a standard wave sound. Then we slowly move up towards the middle one, which will be a saw, and then it'll slowly go up to a square wave. You get lots more options in other synths, but we're just using this one for a moment to make it simple. So we're seeing what it's doing to the sound over here in the preview window. So that's pretty much the oscillator, and obviously the oscillator is what's creating all the sounds. And we've got more than one, we've got 2, we've got one underneath and one over here. So we can layer them together. Now we can just move over to the filter, because that changes the sound of the oscillator, and or the oscillator I should say, or the whole 3. The first button there is obviously for oscillator 1, the second's for oscillator 2. I'm just going to turn that one off at the moment, and the other one is oscillator 3. Okay, so we've got a low pass filter, a high pass filter, and a BP. and an SMP up the top here as well. So the low pass filter lets the low frequencies through, and the high pass filter lets the high through. And BP does both, as I'm to understand. Warm gives it a nice warm sound, hopefully. So we're going to keep it on a low pass filter, so that when we turn this cut off knob and play sound, you can see that it changes the tone as you turn. And if we can do this automatically later, just think what that can do. That's great. The same with the resonance. You can turn that up and down, it changes the sound again. And we could do that automatically with what's called an LFO, and we'll get into that soon. Drive gives it a bit more oomph. And key tracking follows your keys, really. Key following is one of these things I really need to look into more. I know a lot of professionals use that for all sorts of things. But right, we're just going to go through the amp next, which is next door. Obviously, this gives it the power, a little bit more oomph, a little bit more volume. And here we've got attack, decay, sustain and release. If I can explain what these do, first of all, we'll just make bring this one right down, the attack right down. Just drop this down a little bit, and all of a sudden we've just got a very quick stabbing sound. So the sound's going straight up. But if we were to bring this attack up, we then get like a slope, as you can see by the little indicator showing there. And then we can up the decay, that kind of helps, and the sustain, because it sustains. So it goes up to the sound, comes down a little bit on the sustain, and then it finally finishes on the release. So obviously the more attack you give it, the longer it takes to come up to the top of the note, and the release at the back end there will give you much more of a longer tail end to the sound. So that shape that I just created is normally what I choose, but you know, you can play about with those a little bit to get the desired sound you want. Now you can see the filter is still making its difference there. Okay, I'm going to bring all these back down again. And we're going to pop the decay, then release a little bit. And I'm just going to up the next bit, which is the pitch, which we can actually set as a glide. So as you hit the note, it glides up. And legato, which gives it another effect. So these would be used more for lead effects. So these will be down, and then if we go up the top one, it'll make it go up every time you hit the next note, really. So as I'm hitting the next note, it's going up 1 octave. So yeah, we're not going to use that right now, but that's what that does. Okay, so next we're going to go to LFOs. Now LFOs are great to use. I love LFOs, and we can get this filter to move automatically on its own, as fast or as slow as we want, and we can use an LFO for that. So let's just bring all this back up again. So if I just make that shape I usually make, there we are. That gives you a half decent pad effect. Okay. So we'll come down to the LFO, and we'll just drop the rate down at the moment. So this is the speed that the LFO will work. So if we just drag that down at the moment, as you can see, when you press the button, you'll get hertz, and when you press the button again, it takes you back to 1/8, 1/8 dotted, 1/8 whatever. You know, as you go down, you get a much slower rate, is pretty much what's happening on that. The fade in and out you've got there. also you've got all different ways, so you can have a triangle, a ramp up, which means that's how the sound's going to go. It's going to go from low to up, and then obviously the sine would actually make it go up and then down like a wave, really. So if we now click on this little button here next to this knob, it says click target. So that's as easy as that. We just click on the target and it's popped the filter cut in there. And then what we can do is we can first of all put the rate up so you can see what it does, and we'll turn up this knob and you can see that it's now affecting the filter. Slow it down and it does it slowly. So we now have a filter that's very slowly evolving, and we can of course move that filter button or knob, if you want to call it, as much as we like to get the desired place we'd like it. And just mess around until we get the desired effect we're looking for. So there we go, that LFO is now automatically making that filter move. We can do the same with the resonance. God grief, I find it hard to say that word. Why, I don't know, but there we are. So yeah, we can tap on target, tap on resonance, and then up the speed a bit. That will also make that move in and out and change the sound. So hopefully you can see what the LFO is doing here and what you can achieve with it. So that's grand. Okay, so there's another LFO over here, so we can click on target and we can do something like changing the pan. So if we now up the speed here and just turn it up slightly, and then you can see that the pan is moving. And if we just that up, and if I just turn the pan knob to the left, it will then go bipolar, it will go both ways, so it's giving you that from one speaker to another effect. Yeah, cool. Okay, so like the amp envelope, there's also, as well as LFOs, the mod envelopes, and we can make similar shapes with that mod envelope like we do with the amp. I'm just going to bring all these down again, because instead of doing a pad this time, I'm going to do a kind of a pluck effect. So we're changing the shape so that the sound's going straight up, down fairly quickly, until you get that kind of pluck sound, you know. Not so much release, just a little bit release. Mess about with the filter to get us the sound that you want. Moving that filter up and down, obviously you can just see that that makes a difference in the sound. So what we can do here is use the mod envelope to make that do what I just did automatically. So if we just click on there, turn the rate up, and you can now see the filters going from low to high rather quickly. And if we bring down, or mess about with the filter and mess about with the decay and what have you, we'll eventually get a nice kind of pluck sound. There we go. So that's the way you can achieve a pluck, you know, by using an envelope, mod envelope. You can mess about with the release to give it a little bit of release time, or less release time, I should say. Yeah, cool. So effects, ping pong delay. Straight away you've got a nice kind of Berlin kind of style pluck. So let's put this amp envelope back again, so our usual shape for a pad. some release, and that'll do just for demo purposes. Okay. Yep, so you can see the kind of shape I usually go for a pad sound, and here we go. So we have a second oscillator here, and if we bring it into play and perhaps change the sine wave a little bit, maybe move the semitones down a little bit or something like that, you can just play around so that you've got a couple of different sounds that you can mix together, if you catch my drift. We'll put up the voices a little bit on this too. And you get the same, you know, the rough idea. You've got two oscillators here now, so that you can either keep them the same wave form, but just change the knob slightly, so that you can mix two sounds together and get a really good effect and a fuller sound. Up here we've got oscillator 3 as well, and if we up that, it's already by default set down to 1 octave, so we can now give it that little bit more depth to the sound. So you also have this sample layer, which is real cool, with lots of different choices in here of samples. So I'm going to go in the pad department and pick Midnight Ocean because I rather like it. And if we up the volume on that, we now bring in yet another part to our sound, which sounds like the ocean. Nice. It's just a one shot. You can click on, pretty much does what it says really. And key tracking here as well that we could use if we wanted to. So yeah. So I hope this is helping you as a beginner. Here, I'm certainly doing my best. But once you get used to one synth, then you can pretty much move on to another one. Some are a lot more complicated, obviously, and a lot more to them. But at least making a start on a straightforward synth like this one will help you actually move on to the bigger ones later on in time. So in the effects here, you've got lots to choose from. You've got a reverb. You've obviously got the delay underneath, which we're already switched on. Just going to turn the volume down a tad here. Also, we've got a phaser, which gives another nice effect. Of course, you can mess about with all the settings, turn the volume down to it, you know, or the mix, I should say. The mix control knob will bring the kind of mix in with the rest of what you've done. So it's almost like a volume, but yeah, you can hear that phasing sound working now. So you've got a matrix down here which you can do more modulation with, you know, make an LFO do something to another LFO, and all sorts of things. So that's what you would use that for. So it's, you know, you want to do some stuff, some extra stuff here to make everything more interesting, then you can just go sky's the limit basically. So it really is a good little synth. Good little synth. So just for example, let's do something pretty weird or out of the ordinary. Let's do this mod envelope number 2. Just change it slightly, and then let's go over here and select it. Mod envelope 2, and then let's assign this to the sample tune up at the top. So as I now turn the dial up on that, you can see that it's making a great little sound. So hopefully this explains, you know, what you can do with the matrix. You can do some pretty crazy stuff. So back in effects, you've also got an EQ here, which is pretty cool. Take out some of the lows, the mids or the highs. Okay, let's go back to effects again and down. As you can see, when you turn this up, it also has a really handy little preview window to show what's going on, which is superb. So yeah, the low, the mid, and the high end, you can see what's happening there in the window. Then last but not least, you've got this wave shaper distortion, which gives the wave some distortion if you so wish to have it. Different types on a drop down list there at the side. Okay, so we can go here and we can initialize patch again, and we're back to the initialization patch. Just going to turn the volume down a little bit. Let's go back to the effects, and we can just quickly play around with the arpeggiator here that you also have. So you've got the up, you've got the down, you've got the alternate, which is up and down. You've got the sequencer mode, which is rather cool, so you can change. I'm just going to quickly dump in anything in here. So let's go 12. Semitones down and so on and so forth. Just keep going along until you pick what you want, and you've got a sequencer. That's not the greatest one in the world, but there we are. I don't mean the sequencer itself, I mean what I've just picked. Yeah, no, that's cool though. I mean, you can mess about, can't you? You can change all those octaves at the side there. You can just go mental. Nice. It's something else that you could modulate there, of course, and have that automatically move from the matrix. Yeah. So I hope that gives you a good idea of how to use Apricot. If we go down here, you can see that it's also got its own factory presets. I'm not going to play too much with these because this video is already way too long as far as I'm concerned. Whoa. Okay. So let's just go to a Pluck Oscillator. Let's turn the volume down a bit here. Yeah, all good stuff. So that's the free synth Apricot. And this video was for beginners, and I hope that it's helped a few people out there understand how you can use these things. I'm not a professional at this sort of thing at the moment, so I do my very best. So I hope it helps. So if anybody's still here and watched this video all the way through, thank you so much for that. I really do appreciate it. If you did like the video, please give us a like and subscribe. That would be brilliant, and it will push me to do more videos and hopefully get a little bit more professional at doing them. So thanks very much and take care. Bye bye.